Ionian Revolt. It was an uprising by Greek cities in Asia Minor against Persian rule, primarily led by the city of Miletus. Frustrated by high taxes and the loss of local autonomy, the Ionians, with support from Athens and Eretria, attacked Persian territories. However, Persian King Darius I swiftly responded, defeating the rebels and reasserting control. The revolt's failure led to harsher Persian rule but sparked tensions that eventually triggered the Greco-Persian Wars. Roman Republic Revolt. The Roman Republic Revolt refers to a series of social and political struggles between the patricians, elite class, and plebeians, common people. Tensions rose as the plebeians sought more political power, protection from debt slavery, and legal equality. Key moments include the establishment of the Tribune of the Plebs in 494 BCE, which gave the plebeians a voice in government. The conflict led to reforms such as the Law of the 12 Tables, which codified laws to protect the rights of the common people. Servile Wars. These were a series of three major slave uprisings against the Roman Republic from the 2nd to 1st centuries BC. The first Servile War took place in Sicily, where enslaved people, led by Eunice, rebelled against harsh conditions on large estates. The Second Servile War, also in Sicily, saw slaves rise up again protesting brutal treatment. The most famous was the Third Servile War, led by the gladiator Spartacus, which began in southern Italy and attracted a large following. All three revolts were ultimately crushed by Roman forces. Bar Kokhba Revolt. A Jewish uprising against Roman rule in the province of Judea was led by Simon Bar Kokhba, who was believed by many to be the Messiah. The revolt was fueled by religious tensions, including the Roman ban on circumcision and the planned construction of a pagan temple on the ruins of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. Initially, the rebels achieved several victories, even establishing a short-lived independent state. However, Emperor Hadrian sent massive Roman forces to crush the rebellion. The revolt ended in devastating defeat for the Jews, with massive loss of life and severe restrictions on Jewish practices in Judea. German Peasants War. It was a widespread uprising of peasants, townsfolk, and some lower nobles across parts of the Holy Roman Empire, particularly in Germany. Inspired by the Reformation and rising discontent with feudal oppression, high taxes, and lack of rights, the peasants demanded social, economic, and religious reforms, outlined in the 12 Articles. Led by local leaders and radical preachers, they staged protests and attacked castles and monasteries. However, the revolt was brutally suppressed by the nobility, resulting in the deaths of tens of thousands of peasants. English Civil War. The English Civil War was a series of conflicts between King Charles I and Parliament over issues of governance, religion, and royal authority. Tensions began when Charles attempted to rule without Parliament, raising taxes unilaterally and enforcing religious policies that many, especially Puritans, opposed. This led to an open war between the royalists, who supported the king, and the parliamentarians, led by figures like Oliver Cromwell. After fighting for a long time, the parliamentarians emerged victorious. Charles I was executed in 1649, and the monarchy was temporarily abolished. The war ended with the establishment of the Commonwealth under Cromwell. Glorious Revolution. In this revolution, King James II was overthrown and replaced by his daughter Mary II and her husband, William of Orange, with little bloodshed. James II's Catholicism, autocratic rule, and attempts to increase royal power alarmed both Protestants and Parliament. In response, William of Orange, who was Protestant and married to James's Protestant daughter, was invited to invade England. James fled to France, and William and Mary ascended the throne. This revolution led to the constitutional changes enshrined in the Bill of Rights, which limited the power of the monarchy and affirmed parliamentary supremacy. American Revolution. The American Revolution was a war fought between the 13 American colonies and Great Britain. Tensions had been building due to British taxation without representation, restrictions on colonial trade, and British interference in colonial governance. The war began with battles like Lexington and Concord, and over time, the colonies formed the Continental Army, led by George Washington. With crucial support from France and Spain, the Americans eventually defeated the British at the Battle of Yorktown. The Treaty of Paris formally ended the war, recognizing American independence and establishing the United States of America. French Revolution. The French Revolution was driven by widespread discontent with King Louis XVI's rule, financial crises, social inequality, and Enlightenment ideas about liberty and equality. The revolution began with the storming of the Bastille in 1789 and the formation of the National Assembly, which sought to draft a new constitution. Over the next decade, France experienced extreme upheaval, including the Reign of Terror, where thousands were executed, and the rise of radical leaders like Maximilien Robespierre. The revolution ended with the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, who eventually declared himself emperor. Haitian Revolution. It was a successful slave revolt in the French colony of Saint-Domingue, which became the independent nation of Haiti. It was inspired by the ideals of the French Revolution and driven by the brutal conditions of slavery on the sugar plantations. Led by figures like Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and Henri Christophe, enslaved Africans rose up against the French colonists and their allies. After years of fierce fighting, including battles against French, Spanish, and British forces, the revolutionaries secured independence in 1804, making Haiti the first independent black republic and abolishing slavery. Latin American Wars of Independence. These were a series of revolutionary movements that led to the independence of various Latin American colonies from Spanish and Portuguese rule. The movements were fueled by dissatisfaction with colonial exploitation. Simón Bolívar and San Martín led campaigns across South America, while Miguel Hidalgo and others initiated revolts in Mexico and Central America. The wars were long and difficult, with shifting alliances and frequent conflicts, but by 1826, most Latin American countries had achieved independence. Greek War of Independence. It was a successful revolt by the Greek people against the Ottoman Empire, which had ruled Greece for nearly 400 years. The war began when Greek nationalists launched uprisings in the Peloponnese and other regions. Initially, the Greeks faced setbacks due to the Ottoman military's superior numbers and resources. However, the conflict drew support from European powers like Britain, France, and Russia, who were motivated by both strategic interests and sympathy for the Greek cause. In 1827, a decisive naval victory by the combined British, French, and Russian fleets at the Battle of Navarino helped tip the balance in favor of the Greeks. The war ended in 1829 with the Treaty of Adrianople, and Greece was recognized as an independent kingdom in 1830. Revolutions of 1848. Also known as the Springtime of Nations, these were a series of interconnected uprisings and revolts across Europe, driven by widespread discontent with political repression, social inequality, and economic hardship. The revolutions involved demands for constitutional reforms, expanded voting rights, and better working conditions. The most notable uprisings occurred in France, where King Louis-Philippe was overthrown, and the Second Republic was established, and in the German states, where there were calls for national unity and a liberal constitution. Other revolts took place in Austria, Italy, Hungary, and Poland. Despite initial successes, most of the revolutions were eventually suppressed by conservative forces and monarchies. Taiping Rebellion. The Taiping Rebellion was a massive and deadly civil war in China, led by Hong Xiuquan, who claimed to be the younger brother of Jesus Christ, and sought to establish a theocratic kingdom, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, in opposition to the Qing dynasty. The rebellion was fueled by widespread discontent with the corrupt Qing government, economic hardship, and social inequality. Hong's movement gained large-scale support, especially among peasants in southern China, and captured major cities like Nanjing. The Taipings fought a protracted war against Qing forces, along with their allies, the British and French. Despite initial successes, the rebellion was eventually crushed after years of brutal conflict, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 20 to 30 million people. Meiji Restoration. It was a period in Japanese history during which the Tokugawa shogunate was overthrown, and imperial rule was restored under Emperor Meiji. This marked the end of over 250 years of feudal rule and Japan's isolation from the rest of the world. The restoration was triggered by internal unrest and external pressures, especially from Western powers like the United States, which forced Japan to open its ports through the Treaty of Kanagawa in 1854. In the wake of these challenges, a group of reformist samurai, led by figures like Saigo Takamori and Okubo Toshimichi, restored power to the emperor and began a series of rapid political, social, and economic reforms. The Meiji government modernized Japan by adopting Western industrial technologies, establishing a centralized government, creating a modern army, and implementing new educational systems. Paris Commune. The Paris Commune was a radical socialist government that briefly ruled Paris following France's defeat in the Franco-Prussian War and the collapse of the French Second Empire. After the fall of Emperor Napoleon III, tensions between the French government and the Parisians escalated, especially regarding the harsh terms of the peace with Prussia and the economic hardships caused by the war. In March 1871, after French troops were withdrawn from Paris, workers, artisans, and revolutionary groups took control of the city and established the Commune, seeking to create a society based on social justice and equality. The French national government, based in Versailles, viewed the Commune as a threat and launched a brutal military assault to suppress it. The Bloody Week resulted in the deaths of thousands of communards and the rebellion was crushed. Mexican Revolution. The conflict began as a movement to overthrow the long-standing dictatorship of Porfirio Diaz, who had ruled Mexico for over 3 decades. Frustration over Diaz's regime grew due to land inequality, poor working conditions, and lack of political freedom. The revolution was sparked by Francisco Madero, a reformist who demanded democratic elections and became a leader of the opposition. The uprising quickly spread, drawing support from diverse groups, including peasant armies led by Emiliano Zapata in the south and Pancho Villa in the north, both fighting for land reform and workers' rights. The revolution became a violent struggle, eventually leading to significant changes in Mexican society.